Hey guys, it's Jackson with a quick little editor's note. I wanted to put a trigger warning at the start of this episode because we talk about some pretty heavy stuff throughout. This episode, we talk about suicidal ideation, suicide, and self-harm. And the episode can get pretty heavy at times, and there's not really a good place for us to come up at points. I want to point that out due to the fact that that can be triggering to some people, and I know that it can be hard to listen to and talk about. With that being said, there are going to be resources down below for veteran hotlines, PTSD hotlines, suicide hotlines, things like that. Medical resources for you to reach out to if you or a loved one are in need of that. There's no shame in it at all. And I wanted to kind of share that message from us at Coming Up for Air. With that being said, I wanted to also thank Justin for being so brave on coming on. And he truly is like a loving and caring friend and like a brother to me. And I wanted to throw this in at the start and just say, if anybody ever has that moment, you are heard. But otherwise, it's a great episode, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And I'll talk to you guys real soon. Hey there. How's it going?
Howdy, bitch.
Howdy-o.
I hope y'all are doing well. Welcome to Coming Up for Air, an introspective podcast.
Wow, Jackson, you really sound like...
I'm your co-host, Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Brendan.
And we have a special guest here today.
What's your name, dude?
Justin.
Gang.
So, let's, real quick, I know I sound awful.
Yeah, but give a quick background.
I'm currently getting over being a little icky. And so my voice is a little fucked up right now.
Kooky.
I'll try to keep it kind of consistent, though, throughout the podcast. Anyway, Justin here is a friend of mine. We've known each other since elementary school. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit more later on. But welcome on, Justin. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for coming, dude.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. Be graced in my presence, clearly.
I can't see you because Brendan's a big-ass head, but...
I do got a big dome. I gotta remember to, scoot back.
You gotta
just when you're not
unarch. You gotta unarch.
It's gotta be like,
You gotta unarch.
You gotta do the twerking head. Yeah.
I got you.
That's a good one right there.
All right, bet.
Anyway, today for this episode, we're talking about achieving your dream, losing it, and how to be where you want to be, which is a pretty heavy episode. This is an episode I've been looking forward to personally for a while.
Facts.
It's going to be kind of sad, and
He has talked about it a lot.
And I'm kind of pissed that this is the voice that I have for it, but it'll be okay.
I think it makes it cool. It makes it like, you're dangerous. I am dangerous.
It feels like I've aged 60 years in 1 week.
Oh, it just fits the tone, you know?
Yeah. Very depressing.
Wow, Jesus.
Brendan, let's start with you. Let's hit our check-in.
Giants, baby. We came back this week in London, bro. We came back, right, against the Packers, right? We were down, I think, 17-3 at one point. I'm not going to lie to you, bro. We came back. Daniel Jones, fucking Saquon Barkley. We came back. Ended up winning 20-something, 17 or some bullshit like that, 2017.
What's your Giants record now?
4-1.
4-1?
Yeah, but so are the Cowboys and so are the fucking Eagles, dog.
No, the Eagles are 5-0, baby. Let's go, my boys. 5-0.
Hey, ready? Watch this.
Sports ball.
Hey, ready? Watch this. Jackson, who's your quarterback's name?
I don't fucking know. Not Michael Vick anymore.
We talked about this last time. It's fine. Anyway.
He's doing good, though.
Fuck your Eagles.
5-0.
You don't know a damn thing about your Eagles. Hold my dick.
They're doing good. Why don't you just let me have it?
Cause. Anywho, I'm really excited for them to keep playing good ball. Hopefully we find a fucking wide receiver soon. That'd be cool. Sign OBJ back, maybe. Jackson has hentai on his fucking pre-workout thingy.
It's a waifu.
Dude, it's my waifu. Don't touch it. Can't you see I'm trying to drink from it?
Yeah, that's wild, bro. Anywho, yeah, bro, Giants 4-1. Hopefully we keep playing good ball. We're going to have to end up playing for a fucking wild card spot unless the Eagles just decide to choke the second half of the season, which I'm hoping for, but, I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah, that's my little check-in. Giants, go Big Blue.
Woo woo. Justin, hit us with it.
Well, I've been hanging out with my dad a little bit more and trying to, more on a personal level and stuff, helping him out with working on cars and such. It's been an interesting experience. Been understanding a lot of the reasons I do the things that I do. It's It's interesting. It's really, when we're both sitting there with our arms crossed, just going, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's pretty fucking bad. Why would someone do that? Yeah, that's terrible.
In the exact same manner.
Yes. Looking out at the piece of rust going, wow, some jackass actually did that.
That's how it was with me and my dad working on our old Volkswagen. We used to have like a 71 Beetle, and obviously like German engineering, like back then, like the whole like engine in the back, and like it's the engine bay is literally this fucking big, and like all the components are like packed in. You're like, bro, who the fuck thought this was a good idea? You know what I mean?
Somebody was like, economic car. That's literally what it means. They was just like, all right, this is an easy way to make this shit. Let's go. Oh, the Americans want to buy this piece of shit? Let's go.
Start selling them. Let's get it going.
Let's get it going.
That shit, yeah, but that shit was rough, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. So I feel it. That's fire though. At least you get to. I feel like it's just like finding a piece of yourself.
Yeah,
you know?
no, it's been an experience. It's been crazy. And then now my uncle's trying to get me to buy his Camaro, which I'm
weird.
An 80s, 80 something. I think it's like an 86. The problem is this price and what's been done to it. That's the problem. I could spend like 8,000 right now on a fully running car with the 305 in it. He took the 305 out, gutted the AC unit for whatever reason. So now there's no engine in it, and he wants 4,000 for a car that's missing the original engine with all the documentation for that engine. Took the original rims off for whatever reason, got rid of those. And so it's like, I get an LS with it, but it's probably a truck motor. So
Tough.
That's so ass. I'd be like, bro, I'll give you 2,500 for that bitch.
nah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, because I kind of want to just buy it and then work on it. But at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just one of those, however much, if you actually do want to put in that effort and like put in the fucking hours, because obviously it's just labor work, you know what I mean? And obviously I watched my dad be a mechanic for most of my life and shit like that. So watching him like bring people's car in and then having to like look at it and be like,
that shit fucked up. How the fuck you do that?
Literally, bro. Or like, even as something as simple as you would think like changing someone's brakes, and then you look at their fucking brake pads and you're like, how are you not dead yet?
How are you not rolling into every car in front of you?
Literally, how are you not just fucking ruining traffic right now, bro? And then they kind of look at it and they go, oh, my bad.
Oh,
yeah. Oh,
they turned into a fucking monkey. Ooh.
Oh,
yeah.
This shit fucking kills me, bro. Yeah, this shit's crazy. Or like a bad oil change or something like that when you try to do something for somebody and it's like gunk coming out and you're like, listen, dude.
You said 3,000 miles, more like.
I want to tell a little story about Justin and me. So, Justin and me recently reconnected over the past year or so. And so what'll happen is me and Justin will, we work under the same work hours. Well, at least we used to. And so we would both like get out around 11 at night. And so we'd meet up at the Denny's at midnight. And we'd go and just hang out and vibe in the Denny's. And we're both creatures of habit, so we get the same thing every single time.
Did they know you guys already every time you sat down?
Yes.
Yeah, but they still gave us menus, still asked what we wanted every time.
That's what all those Snapchat pictures of us are. It's just,
like really thinking about what we're going to get.
I really wonder what I'm going to get this time.
Yeah, I'll throw one of them into the episode right here. I think I saved one of them. But we had this joke going on where the Denny's sometimes, it's hit or miss, right? They're either playing straight fire on the AM, actually it'd be the PM, or they're playing straight misses. Like it's bad. It's either gas or nothing.
Okay. Hold on. Before you continue, what is gas in your like? What is the
gas
best song that Denny's has played?
Okay,
that you've heard.
Keep in mind it's a Denny's, so you have to kind of be aware of what you're aiming for. Me and Justin both also like classic rock. So Take On Me comes on. That's a gas song. That's a good pick. All right?
You're just sitting there and all you hear is
Who Can It Be Now comes on. Also a gas song. But every now and then you hear a song like, I need a second to think.
What? Wasn't there one time where it was like just country song, like just crying country songs? Like that's what it was one night.
But it's not like it's not good country songs. It's literally the ones that like, I am playing this song right now because I just got dumped in the worst way possible and I don't know how to cope.
I'm crying in the club right now.
I'm crying in the I'm crying in the country club right now, and this Jack is only my friend.
this bitch stole my tractor.
Yeah, she
keyed my truck.
She took a big ride on my big green tractor all the way to the fucking bank.
Got it.
So like,
Got it.
it's real like wiggity whack.
You guys described that perfectly. Like it was on point. I see the scale now.
All of this being said, sometimes when it's playing bangers, we were talking and we were like, man, the food's gonna be good when they're playing bangers. When the heat's on, the heat is on.
Exactly.
And so we started talking about whenever the cook is feeling the music, when the bangers are on, the cook's feeling the music. So the cook's getting jiggy with it. He's got them cheeks shaking, and that's where the spatulas are. The spatulas are...
Okay. So the fact that you're already saying it like this is crazy, bro. But with your voice like this, I'm trying so hard not to just fucking piss myself right now.
The spatulas are strapped to the cook's ass cheeks, right? He's shaking left cheek, right cheek, left cheek, right cheek, right? Flipping them pancakes and shit. That's how you know it's gas, because the cook's twerking it to the beat.
This man is like...
Yes.
So every time...
That's what happens.
So every time that somebody talks about the cook being really good, or like me and Justin go to Denny's or somewhere else, we're like, damn, that cook's getting it tonight.
That cook, he's busting it, bro.
Yeah,
we all know
it down
we
sexual style.
That man's... He got the cheeks. He's going, bro.
So basically,
what that ass do? Cook.
Basically, long story short, don't ever go to Denny's with Justin or Jaxon. Got it.
Or if you want a good time, do go.
Do go. If you want an interesting, deep conversation that just randomly pops up out of nowhere, go for it. It's going to be great. So, all of a sudden, you're just going to start laughing.
That's crazy, dog.
So let's roll in, Let's hit this main topic. I do want to say, because the first thing that we're going to do is going to kind of talk about who Justin is. Yeah. You feel all ooh-woos, but it's with the spider web. So Justin is one of the first people that ever listened to this podcast. He knew about it probably first after me and Brendan.
Day one. Real life, like day one shit.
Yeah, like he's one of our biggest supporters, biggest listeners, and he always like helps provide feedback or just is like wanting to talk about the podcast with me. And so whenever we started talking about having a podcast, I asked Justin about if he would want to be on it and talk about stuff. And so we've had this conversation a lot of like where we want this to go and stuff. But we never got too deep into details, so that would still be fresh stuff for me to experience.
Because a lot of it is
it's heavy.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fucking heavy.
I'm here to cry.
So let's really hit into it, Justin. Let's talk about who you are. Give us kind of a rundown on you and why you're here.
Well, my name's Justin Colton. That's how everybody knows me. The last name is usually the best giveaway because it's got a K. Original. Oh, wow. For like past sense of experience about Jaxon, anybody that's close in our friend group probably knew exactly where I was at in comparison to a lot of people, where they would say like, oh, where they wanted to be in life, rather that be from like elementary school or middle school, which is like, some people are like, oh, I want to be a firefighter, or I want to be this or a surgeon. And it kind of changes up through when you go through, middle school, high school, and stuff like that.
Yeah. And for background, me and Justin have known each other since elementary school. So we've known each other literally since second, third grade.
Oh, yeah, probably around, I think it was third grade, I think.
So we've been around each other forever. And there's been times where we fall out from each other and just, not out of bad terms, but more just like lose contact.
We're all crying in the club right now. We got problems.
Yeah, we got the country music on and everything.
Country music's crying and driving. So, everybody has, that kind of take where, when you're like, 5, you're like sitting there, like, man, being a firefighter would be sick.
I want to be an astronaut.
I want to be a fucking astronaut. Some people, they give up on that dream pretty early on, but I think somewhere around probably, I think it was when I smashed my skull open, so I had to have been like 7-ish.
We're just going to scroll by. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I was like, hello?
So
don't worry about it.
Yeah, I had this great idea that was, I wanted to join the military. That's where I saw myself throughout many years, and that's just kind of what I was gearing towards over and over and over again. It never changed.
Yeah, so what kind of made that come about? What made you really want to join the military? I obviously kind of have an insight, but for Brendan and the audience.
I was going to ask you the same thing. I was like, why would you want to join the military at 7 years old? I'm not going to lie to you. I have a big thing with like, I have a big grudge against the military.
So I have like a weird I have a weird like experience with like people like veterans and stuff like that. People that don't talk about that shit at all. I mean, like people that like you probably didn't even know that they were in, just start telling me stuff all the time. I had my great grandfather who passed pretty recently, but
sorry to hear that.
He never talked to anybody about this, and I was like 5 when he just decided to unload all this shit. He was in the Korean War, and he was the 3 of the last of his entire platoon to come back off this mountain. It was just him and one other guy. He saw his best friend get basically just capped, like right in front of him. That was that. And he's telling me this, and I'm like 5 maybe, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah. And like at that age, especially, like your understanding of death isn't fully there.
No,
but like that type of stuff still sticks with you because it carries in.
Yeah, and not only that, but I feel like it's one of those, like, I feel like we all have those moments where like we remember being told shit as a kid, and then we think about it now and we're like, yo, we should have not been told that as a child. You know what I mean? Like we have those stories that are like, I feel like you should probably wait to tell a kid that. Like, wait till they're a little bit older. You know what I mean? Because like, however, in detail he went and stuff.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
no.
You know what I mean? Like, because as you grow up, then you start to think about it. You start watching movies that have to do with war and a bunch of killing and stuff like that, and then you start to grasp that, and you're like, damn.
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure someone explained this somewhere, but like the best anti-war propaganda is to actually just show war in its fullest extent. Like that's what people don't get. Like, it's really hard to like glorify something if you just show every detail of it. So
like the good and the bad bit.
Yeah, like not everything is like it's all
not everything's Saving Private Ryan.
Not everything is even in Saving Private Ryan, like there's terrible shit in that movie.
Oh yeah, but I mean, or like Full Metal Jacket, where like the first half of that's like the funny ha's.
If you like even like that, like if you really, really look like at Saving Private Ryan and you look at what's happening, like they gun down people that are not even German, like they're Czech. Like that's exactly what they say. They're forced to do what they're doing, and they because they can't understand them, they kill them. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and then that's how I feel like that's how so many military movies are. Like at some point in any movie that has to, whether it be like Hurt Locker, whether it be like at some point in any of those movies, they've either had to gun down a kid, they've either had to gun down a woman in their family because that's the order that they got. There's been stuff that have to do with like, slinging cocaine in the 80s and pulling it from overseas in wars and then putting it in the U.S. and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of shit that like the military does that obviously we don't see, that if people decided to go out and actually look at, they'd be like, oh, like, this is the actual truth. Like, we're not heroes anywhere else. That's why everybody else fucking hates us.
It just depends on what's happening in the scenario or what's going on. Like, if we were just, so we're not too far off topic, but like for me, a lot of the like glorification or the aspects for a lot of people where it really kind of hit them of why they would want to do something like that is the like comradeship and brothership that you gain from it. A great example of this would be like Band of Brothers. Greatest example, not something that's it's not over stupefying anything. It's not glorifying. Like this is exactly what you need to do. No, it's about the brotherhood and the brothership that comes with training, serving, and doing exactly that. I mean, now that's kind of basically stripped away. You're trained with one group of people, and then you're divvied out. Yeah. But with their scenario, they were all trained together. But in that sense, like there was stuff that happened that wasn't good, but there was stuff that they did great. Like the French see like paratroopers as angels. Like that's just how they depict it. It's the liberation of Paris.
My dad used to be in a military motorcycle club, and so it's
yeah.
And so, hearing the stories about them going overseas and going to either like Guam or fucking Korea and shit like that. There's a lot of older guys, and there was one dude who he was the president, and his name was Amp, and he talked about being like a paradiver or whatever. I don't know what they're called.
Probably a
paratrooper. And he was like, I went in with the Air Force. He was like, but I would train with the Marines. He's like, because we would just hop out the shit, and then we were the first people on fucking land. And he was like, it was some of the greatest times of my life flying out, and probably some of the scariest moments of my fucking life. He was like, when we were good, and we were down bad, we were down tremendous, and I think that's where I kind of get it from. But there's just such a big mix of people, I feel like, that go into the military. Yeah. That it's hard, you know what I mean?
Now more than ever, like people that like volunteer really shouldn't volunteer.
honestly, some of the people like the mental aspects of some people who walk into the military are like, yo, like you shouldn't, like you said, like you should not be going into the military. Like,
that was my entire experience. There was not me personally, but it was like everybody else around me. But
obviously, we've kind of like touched on where this is heading, but let's pivot back a little bit and
let's get back on track.
Of Justin, like who are you? Where did all this start?
So, you know, I kind of had this mindset outset. This is what I was going to do, and I have asthma. Like that's not. Like I have that. Like it's a problem. It's not something that it hits me. You know, some people it's like it's just something that comes and goes. Mine is active. I have to be actively doing something for that to really be a problem. So, you know, that's one of the crutches. But with this, like this was my goal. This is what I wanted to do. It never changed. I constantly stuck to that over and over and over, and I never stopped with that. I wasn't like somebody who was into sports. Like my whole thing was like, this is what I wanted to do. And it just kind of kept fueling more of that drive that this is what I need to do. And that started to kind of probably shift a little bit more probably towards like the end of high school, especially when I got out of high school. I was, you know, I didn't do that right away because I needed to work on some things beforehand. Yeah, so a lot of things were going on around that time, and I kind of started to realize that I never really like synced with a lot of things in high school, into the sense that like I didn't really get into like relationships or stuff like that. Like I have friends, tons of friends, like Jackson, other people that I met through high school and other places. So it wasn't really hard for me to do that, and for whatever reason, I got some weird, not weird, but more or less like the way that your mind works is, you know, through corrections and balances. And so from your life experience, you'll make whatever decision that is depending on people or whatever that may be. And so what finally, I guess, pushed me to finally do what I wanted to do was someone that I was talking to named Bill. God bless you, Bill. But at the same time, really dumb, and you shouldn't have done it.
You fucked me up, man.
You fucked me up a little bit, but God bless you. But the realization that I kind of pulled myself away from the patriotic kind of aspect of it all, and duty, brotherhood, and all that. And I came to the realization that I'm kind of drifting away from people unnecessarily, and I kind of just want to dip away.
Retweet like 150 times, dog. I feel you.
And so my whole process of that was that I would really, if my parents probably weren't there, I probably would have definitely pushed through that a little bit further than I did. But I wanted to push away from probably everybody and to leave it at that, to go the mile. Frankly, I was ready to die.
At this point, Justin and I weren't really talking. Shortly after this, you enlisted, right?
So after whatever this conversation with Bill, which was more or less that I shouldn't be slacking off about it. I should really just go in and do it, call somebody and start the process, and that's what I did. Which was really fast, like stupid fast.
Oh,
I think
they're quick about it.
No. I mean, this is probably the fastest that anybody has probably got in their life.
I swear.
I was in it like literally. So I probably started the process. We'll say, I think my contract was signed, and I signed in November, probably near the end of November. I was to leave at New Year's.
Which is a really, really quick turnaround.
No prep, nothing. Go.
It's normally like a 6-month period, if that.
Yeah, and then
or a little bit
more
more.
Time to like obviously
you go PT.
Yeah, you go to PT, you go figure out all that shit. No, skipped all that. We're going in.
Is it because like your ASVAB was high, or like
no?
What was that?
I chose infantry, and I picked an experimental program for infantry.
Part of it is because of that, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a homie, bro. I shit you not, bro. I had a homie dead ass tell me in high school. He looked me dead straight in the face in the year of high school, and he said, "I want to go into the Marines." He's like, "I want to go into infantry, and I want to be the baddest motherfucker on this planet." And I looked at him and I said, "You sound like the goofiest motherfucker."
You sound like a psychopath.
Exactly. He looked at me. He was like, "I want to be John Wick," and I all the homies would look at each other and be like,
That's some psycho shit.
bro, like, you got an issue, dog. You know what I mean? Like,
Nobody who goes in thinking that they're going to be the best is ever going to be the best.
They also don't realize like what being infantry means too, and what that does to your psyche.
Yeah, bro. They think that you're just gonna run in and fucking dump bullets into somebody, and then you're gonna be fucking fine after. Like, they don't realize. And I asked most of the people who like want to go into the military, like even getting out of high school. I asked most of the people that wanted to go either infantry or be on the battlefield or like a battle medic or something like that. And I would go up to them and be like, bro, are you ready to see somebody die? Have you ever looked at, like, have you ever seen a dead body? 9 times out of 10, they'd be like, nah, bro. I'm like, have you ever,
you
like,
know what that does?
Like, bro, like, have you ever seen somebody one day and then the next day they're gone?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you don't realize the type of effect that had. And for me, I got lucky because I was not used to death for so long. Like, no one really close to me had died, and I got lucky growing up. So now death for me is like we had to put my dog down. And that shit broke my heart. You know what I mean? But if somebody in the like family has died, or like I've met them a couple times, like for me, like I almost feel bad because I don't feel anything. You know what I mean? But I know for a fact when it comes to like taking somebody's life, or like, you know, like you said, like you're building a camaraderie with your brothers and stuff like that, and then you see a homeboy take a bullet, like people are not ready for that, bro. And they think that they're fucking stone cold, and you're not. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why they've changed up like the way that training and all that is so to try and weed that kind of sentiment out, because they don't want that, which is part of the truth. Like, you don't want that. But
at this point, Justin had told me that he had enlisted whenever about like 3 weeks after you signed.
Yeah,
and you're like, hey, I'm leaving in January, like at January 1st. I'm gone.
Yeah.
And so
you ended up going through boot camp and stuff like that.
I got to. We'll get into that. It's yeah. We'll get into that.
And I do really quick want to say, like, for people who don't know what the PT process looks like for that, normally that 6-month period, you go PT like every week or like every other week, and you get your ass kicked.
It's to get you kind of prepared for what you're expecting, and also kind of get you.
And you're expected on your off weeks to PT by yourself.
Yeah. And you're it's also supposed to prepare you somewhat, from my understanding. I know that's different for wherever you're at and where you're doing it, but it should lean you into the rank system a little bit better. Yeah, I had none of that. That was great. I mean, I had some concept of all the military ranks, but it's really hard to figure any of that out since no one wears them on their sleeves anymore. It's just in the center of their chest, and it's tiny. But yeah, it's not hard to figure out who a lieutenant is, but it's when like a master sergeant wants to be called a master sergeant, but then half of them don't give a shit if you call him sergeant. So yeah.
That's definitely how my brother being in the Air Force, he definitely has to deal like with the whole, like, some people walk around like their titles, their fucking dick. You know what I mean?
I think the Marines have it the easiest. Everybody, sir. I kind of came to these weird conclusions. I ended up going I think I had all my shit finished. I was ready to go for January, the start of January, and that was New Year's. So I think I went the day after, because that was New Year's still. I don't remember. I think it was somewhere around there. I could probably look at that and figure that out. But I joined the experimental infantry program. Some people who actually are in probably know it. It's the 11X program. It's to determine two things dependent on an infantryman's skill and score. I never figured out what determines it, but basically, not counting if you're designated like a machine gun or something like that, would be you're either 11 Bravo or 11 Charlie, which is infantrymen or mortarmen. So where does that determine? I don't know. They even extended our training time while we were there, even on contract. So I think it was originally our training time was like 20 weeks, and then it changed to 25 or 24. I think I have the change for that.
So what about that program was experimental? Like, what was the whole
the whole thing that I just said right there? When you enlist, you're supposed to have a designation already. So if you join the infantry, you would already be designated. Not saying in particular like you're a machine gunner or just a regular rifleman, but you would just be an infantryman. So you'd be 11 Bravo. Oh, okay. 11 Charlie is a mortarman, and that would determine a little bit higher on the list, because that means you're good at math.
Got you.
So, and that means for like any job, you'll have an MOS. Your MOS can be literally, from my understanding, it's only 2 numbers and a letter, and that'll determine what you are. I don't know all of them. I just know what I know. So you finally get there. You get into the army. You get. Yeah, I go through. I swear in. and all that. So where I was training was Fort Benning, Georgia, in the middle of, December, or like the end of, or the beginning of January. So it's still raining, cold, humid. Like, it's either terribly humid or it's extremely cold.
And that's a big elevation change.
It's a big ass elevation change.
Especially being used to just dry ass heat.
Yeah, which means that your lungs have to work harder.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's all that. So when I got there, things weren't like terrible. It's the typical shit, just kind of people yelling at you. When you get into the military, you'll go through a place called reception. And a lot of recruiters will tell you this. Reception is absolute hell right now because of the people that volunteer. And it will drive probably the most motivated people in the world to probably want to quit because about everybody else around them is insane. And if there's anybody who's going to join, ignore everybody that's in there. Don't talk to anybody until you're at least in like boot camp proper. It will psych you out like crazy.
And when you say like they're insane, like,
how do you mean?
Yeah, like before. So try to explain to somebody, like, obviously, like you said, don't talk to nobody before boot camp. So you have this small section right before
the
boot
window.
camp. Where you're meeting just these psychopaths, or like what's like? Explain that.
So everybody there that I'm explaining, like people that you enlisted with, you'll be in like a group. So let's say all of Arizona is in one big ass group. Mm-hmm. All right. So you'll say, and that group will get divided most of the time. So you'll have like Group Charlie, Alpha, Bravo, and then that will be the section groups. So then they'll make up like a bunch of different platoons and stuff like that, but that doesn't really matter. But it's other people, not like the people working there. That's not the problem. It's everybody else around you is your problem. People who aren't even getting really yelled at for stuff or getting really the shit kicked out of them or worked out are crazy. They will... everybody's homesick. No one wants to be there. And so when it's taking forever to do shit and you're seeing shit all over the place, it kind of just starts getting to you. So for me, what started happening was that every fucking night we get waken up because someone tried to hang themselves in the laundry room, the bathroom, no matter what, every night, all the time. That was something that would happen. We were there 2 weeks. Extended, you're only supposed to be there for probably maybe a week and a half to get all your shit done. But we were the largest intake that this base has ever seen in a very long time. One thing that happened was that it's funny a little bit, but some chick decided that she was going to down like a bottle of pills and started running down the hallway, and some sergeant was chasing her, just going, "I'm not going to chase you." She's just screaming down the hallway.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's just shit like that all the time. There was some guy that I had to watch on suicide watch because he was trying to kill himself. And he was sitting there just rubbing his hands like this on his thighs.
Call that the blind side.
And he just kept doing this over and over and over again. And then he started digging into his thighs. I was like, that's nice.
Yeah, bro. And then, like, obviously, like, you're what, 19?
I'm 18.
Yeah, we're 18.
I was 18. I was going to turn 19 when I was in.
Bro, like, in that, I think that's one of my biggest things is the fact that you're allowed to go and fucking die for your country at 18, but you're telling me you can't fucking drink alcohol, you can't go buy some fucking nicotine.
I mean, they still did it.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, you can literally go willingly die for your country at 18. Like, a child can go and die for this country, and they just see it as like hey, man, that dude's a hero.
Yeah, it's a lot of...
But to them, it's just, like, for me, I always just see it as, like, them people at the top don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, them people who have been in the military for, like, years and years, they just look at these motherfuckers as numbers, bro. You know what I mean? I think that's, like, my biggest problem is that, like, the amount of shit that you have to go through to prove yourself as somebody in the military, by the time you're there, your brain and the shit that you have seen does not make up for the fucking badges that you have to me on your arm or the fucking medals that you get. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, how many fucking veterans are, out on the corner How many veterans who have served this country are under fucking bridges, who have killed their families, who have killed themselves, you know what I mean? Because they wanted to prove something for their country, and then their country, when they got out, their country was like, all right, cool, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things for that, and out there, I just...
Hey, but that 5% discount...
Gotta get that discount.
You gotta get that discount.
You gotta get that discount on that fucking Dodge Charger, buddy. Get with the fucking program.
Yeah. Oh my god!
I got the biggest fucking bonus if I got through, buddy. Dodge Charger was gonna be mine.
Get that 50% off at Dutch Bros.
Exactly, bro. What the fuck's wrong with you? Get with the fucking program, buddy.
I be seeing fucking tweets that are like, you can sign on for like $45,000.
Anyway.
I'm like, you can sign my dick in your mouth.
It's not a lie. You can get that money.
Yeah,
you really can.
I know, but I'm okay.
Anyway, let's keep moving.
Yeah,
we're killing time.
Yeah, we're killing time. So, yeah, you got all that shit going on, and then when you're there and you're taking in all that shit, you're gonna start like second guessing yourself like crazy because you're just standing there waiting for shit. And like I was talking to people, and it was just like, you know, whatever. And then it just kept getting fucking worse and worse. So one of the things I think that kind of like broke the camel's back per se of like
last straw type thing.
Yeah, to some extent is that So what happened was that one day we all woke up and then turns out 3 people just died in their sleep. They didn't get up. And there was like this thing that was just hopping from place to place. Everybody was getting sick. And this was like, which is funny enough because I looked it up, and this was like right when like COVID kind of started to
rear its head a little bit.
Like
US.
This isn't stuff that, not even the US, like this is when like it was first kind of
trickling.
Everybody was like this before like anybody was really talking about it. But I don't think that's what it was, because it was a lot worse because I got it. That's basically what screwed me in that sense. But also the fact that, you know, I was basically second guessing myself all the time, and then shit like that happens, and then they go, "Oh yeah, guys, it's all your fault that those people died." And I went, "Okay, not yours for not doing anything. Yeah, not yours for not doing anything or ensuring you do something. No, it's our fault. We didn't clean the bays, even though that's what we were doing." And it's not. It's like, okay, cool. It started getting like hard for me to breathe all the time, so I was like, okay, this is a problem. And you know, just shit keeps going on. The march keeps going on. So I kind of got picked out, and I was told to go to sick call. So then I go to sick call, and they were testing me for shit. And then I just kind of said, fuck it, I don't care anymore. It's not like they're going to do anything. Oh yeah, there's another thing that they'll do. If they say that if you lie, they're going to find you a bunch of money. It's to try to weed people out. You can keep lying. They're not going to do anything. But you know, I lied about it. That's how I got in, even though I told somebody that, yeah, this is a problem. I have this, but it doesn't bother me that much as long as I'm somewhat conditioned to what I need to do. And I was not conditioned to what I needed to do by any stretch of the word. I
mean, I feel like that's one of those, like, they set you up to fail type shit. You know what I mean?
Yes and no. If I really think about it, I'm not going to blame the guy. I said yes to everything. He didn't lie to me. He told me everything. I said yes. Because I thought, you know, am I really going to...
You'll figure it out.
This is my whole thought process at the time, because I was working my ass off for the roofing company. I cannot be working that job, going to PT, coming home to do it all over again while I just completely wear myself out. And then by the time that I leave, I'm just going to be doing this even more shit. That was my thought process. And then I was like, well, if I can just get in early, it'll work better. It'll work out better. And I scored like all the physical shit that you have to do to qualify for infantry. The only thing that I failed was basically an endurance test of running back and forth.
Suicides.
Yeah, basically suicides. You know, the fucking people, it's literally the Grand Pacer test. You just keep going back and forth.
The fitness Grand Pacer test.
Literally that, and you just do that. That was the only thing I fucked up. Everything else I exceeded higher than I needed to. So once that happened, I was pulled into a medical room, and then I kind of just, like, I was already checked out at this point. I just don't give a shit anymore. This is stupid. I can't believe like half the shit is happening. And at the time I didn't understand like what this would do if I did what I did. And I kind of just said, fucking, I don't care. Like, I have asthma. Like, this doctor, and I was like, you could literally just pull my medical records. Like it's just going to show it. If we could do like all the shit, it's just going to show it. And of course, they said, well, this, and then I had to do all the tests for that. So they had to force and induce asthma attack. And of course, it comes up that, yeah, I have asthma. It's not hard.
It's crazy that they pulled at the medical records, showed that he had asthma, and then still tried to get him to stay.
It's not surprising considering like all the people that were basically faking shit to try and get out. Or I guess I should have mentioned this, but when there is this feeling that everybody who's in remembers, which is that once you get on the plane and you're going there, you're probably not with anybody.
Yeah.
So you would think, it's going to be like everybody's talking and stuff. So once you get on the bus, there's no one talking on that bus.
Also,
it's just quiet.
It's also group mass hysteria.
Yeah. It's everybody is sitting there going, oh shit. What did I do?
I really just signed my life away type shit.
Yeah. And if one person starts doing it, hysteria spreads. It's an ongoing thing.
Everybody starts.
Yeah. So
it wasn't as bad with my group of people. It was like just everybody else. Oh my God.
So they induce the asthma attack and they go, fuck.
Yeah, it's there. Wow. It even says, I was like, yep.
So what happens?
He said, thanks for fucking me up.
Thanks. So from there, you go through some stupid long ass process of, you got to wait for a certain amount of people, which of course that didn't take very long because everybody's coming up with an excuse to get out at this point. And then I was stuck there for like another 2 weeks. And then I guess from what I remember, someone tried to like break out. 2 people broke out and they left. AWOL? Yeah, that happens. People go AWOL. That's dumb as shit. I don't know why you do that. That fucks you up.
Yeah, I was about to say you go AWOL and then it adds to your record, and anybody that even wants to look at your shit, they're like, oh, like.
So you get processed and you get discharged.
Yeah, I get processed. I get discharged. I'm basically just sitting with a bunch of other people, fucking around, and just waiting. Like you're just sitting there waiting for them to sit there and process a bunch of other people's paperwork, your paperwork, and everybody else, and then eventually we'll cycle around, and then we'll get to, you just leave. Like you turn in your ID, and then you turn in your shit. Like that's that.
So shortly after this, Valerie, which is your mom, found out, and she got a hold of me. And that's how I found out originally, was his mom reached out to me and said like, hey, Justin's coming back.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, yeah, he got sick. Something happened. And I was like, okay. And so I didn't really understand what was happening. I thought you were like still enrolled and you just like were on medical leave.
Because the James that we know, that's basically what happened to him. Didn't he have something wrong with him? He got in. And
he got in, and then his deployment got delayed due to him getting a respiratory infection.
Yeah, that. And then he was like he was sitting for so long.
Yeah, he sat for an extra like year.
Yeah.
Damn.
But that's
you come back home.
Yeah, like that was it. Like right as I get off that plane, like right as I leave the bed, like that's it.
Justin, at this point, when he gets back home, me and him talk for about a week, and he kind of tells me like, yeah, I'm sick. Like I got discharged because I was sick. Everything was a shit show. I got fucked over. And I kind of keep tabs on him, and then radio silence between us. And it wasn't like on purpose. It was just kind of like we sliced out.
Yeah, just a complete disconnect.
So I kind of want to talk about, this is where I really want us to get into. This episode's going to be a little longer if you guys haven't caught on. But that was your dream, was getting into that position.
That was the goal was to hit paratrooper.
Yeah, it was literally everything you worked up towards to this point. Justin's been a huge history buff his whole life. Like everything has been this. And then it's gone.
Yep.
And I kind of wanted you to talk about what that feels like, what that process is like. Is the come down.
Yeah, how do you cope with that? You know what I mean? Like how do you deal with that?
Well, there's any correlation that I can give is that like not a lot of people that I know of really you don't really make it this far, and that's just the given truth. Anybody who does what they think
this far being where you are now, or
yes, not just saying in what I did. I'm saying in general, if you were doing what you wanted to do just to have it end abruptly or it swept out from under your feet, most of the time that you can take a guess what happens is
it fucks you up. More than
it's an unrecoverable death spiral.
Yeah, I was about to say, people end up going into a spiral, and then that's when you see people fucking getting on, like, whether it be drugs or they get into bad habits, and they end up just fucking themselves over.
Yeah. So what did that come down look like for you? We've talked about it a little bit, but what you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah. So the timeline's a little all wishy-washy for me,
and that's fine.
But so I remember when I first got home, just kind of sitting there and just literally absolute silence and darkness, just sitting there thinking, like, okay, what now? Like, that was it. That's all or anything that I tried to do, just gone like that. And a lot of people would come to the conclusion of what would run through your mind at that point, especially considering what I was basically planning to do at that point. Suicide is something that constantly is a problem for a lot of people in that scenario. And
and I think that's a big thing that a lot of people don't realize, especially, like, I think me and you have talked about it, like, with men, like, when it comes to guys dealing with suicide and, the different rates and stuff like that, like, I think the numbers are like every 9 out of 10 guys, like, either deal with suicidal thoughts. Yeah, suicidal thoughts, depression, and those same 9 out of 10 dudes probably aren't going to ever tell anybody about it. You know what I mean? Like, and I genuinely hope, the fact that you're on here telling us this story and being able to share it with people, like, I appreciate that a lot. And I know I know Jackson appreciates it a lot, obviously, like, as one of your best friends, but, like, to obviously hear somebody talk about that and, like,
I do really want to say something to you, Justin. I don't think I ever apologized.
It's all good, man.
Because I wasn't there. And I knew that you probably needed somebody. And I wanted to say I'm sorry for that, man. Because I should have been.
It's all good.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. It was a lot. And a lot of people don't make it out.
Take your time.
A lot of people don't make it out of that mindset. And basically, the statistical fact is that I basically probably shouldn't be breathing by any sort. I
think the biggest thing to know is, like, obviously you're here for a reason still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you still obviously have something to do. Like, you still have a purpose. And I think, like, no matter what type of religion or if you are religious or and it really just goes for anybody. Like you said, a lot of people genuinely don't make it out through that shit. Like, once you get put in that spiral, once you get put in that mindset of, like, I don't want to be here anymore, most people end up going through with it.
Yeah, it's an endless spiral, basically.
And at that point, I feel like
how long were you in that spiral? Do you feel like? And I know time gets a little washy with that, but
I'm gonna say for probably roughly a year or more.
What if you don't mind me asking, what kind of kept you hanging on? What was the come up? What kept you here, and then what kind of started to change? Or even if you want to talk a little bit about what that time was like for you.
Well, in some regard, I continue. So at that time, a lot of thought in resemblance to where I think. Oh, God.
You're good, man. It's okay.
Oh, I didn't think it'd be this hard to talk about.
And I ain't gonna lie to you, like, I hope like, the amount of courage and genuinely, like,
you're sharing something that most people will never want to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure those people who also went through the same thing that you went through saw the same thing. Like, how many of them have actually ever talked to somebody about that? You know what I mean? The fact that you're willing to open up with whoever ends up listening, like, I hope you're probably doing a lot better for people than you think you are. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like what we're here for, is to be able to kind of give you that opportunity. And like I said, I can't say to enough. Like, thank you, genuinely. It does mean a lot, and it opens my eyes as well.
Yeah. So my whole thought process at this time was that I was thinking more or less about, what would happen in that scenario? What would happen if I did shoot myself? What would be the outcome? A lot of friends and family would probably blame something that they weren't paying attention to, or probably would blame themselves for something that they missed or they didn't see. And the harsh reality is that there's probably nothing that they could have done in that scenario if I was to have gone through with it. Things that strayed away from me from doing that was the thought that, if I'm gone, what would people do, and what would the potential aftermath of that be? And it's always never good. That's how you should always think about that in that scenario.
I think the best way that I could try and understand what you're talking about, where you're coming from, is like when my brother got back from boot camp, even in the Air Force, like the shit that he saw when it came to whether it would be the harassment of women in their platoon, the absolute just reworking of your brain that they would try to do to you. Before they started trying to rework how they went about training people, it was still fucked. And kind of like the same scenario of how many people you slowly saw people deteriorate, like little by little. You saw them deteriorate as human beings, and then like you're basically getting broken down and then re-put back together however the fuck they want. You know what I mean? And then to have that completely stripped from you, like you said, and then just not being able to like do anything about it, like the fact that you're even still like, moving forward or trying to, the fact that you decided, all right, I'm going to try and figure something else out, or, you know what I mean? Like, I hope, you probably give more people hope than you think you do. You know what I mean? And your story is something that can help so many other people. You know what I mean?
That kind of what goes into it, is that a lot of people talk to me personally about a lot of shit that happens. Just something that just happens in life a lot. I don't understand why. It's not even people that I necessarily talk to a lot. They just tell me a lot of stuff, and it's like, why the fuck are you telling me this?
One of those people that people just, they feel, is it more like they just feel comfortable dumping stuff on?
Yeah. Gotcha. And it's not, I don't see that as a bad thing. And I don't really necessarily have like a mindset of where I need to go or where I need to be now. It's just, I'm here for the people that care about me, and that's good enough for me right now. I wouldn't know where anybody would be if I was gone, so I have to stay. More or less necessarily, if you're religious to that extent, like, offering yourself doesn't really give you any good options in that scenario.
Yeah. The big guy upstairs don't really look at that too.
The big guy upstairs does not look at that too kindly at all.
Listen. Yeah, the big guy looks at that and goes, I don't know, man.
Ending your life prematurely. Not a good one.
Oh, man.
So you kind of hold on to the aspect of where people would be without you and that type of mindset. Where do you go from there? Where's the come up? Like, how do you get out?
I guess that's the hard part is, where do you go from there? And there isn't really, in most scenarios, in all honesty, if you're not, per se, a social person by any stretch of the word, or really getting out there, it's really hard to think of like per se like a really good thing to think about. It's not something that's just going to go away. It's always going to be there to some extent until something changes in that regard.
Yeah.
But it's the underlying problem is that, you know, knowing what to do, not knowing what to do while doing anything to that accord isn't as bad as doing something and then after the fact not knowing what to do.
Kind of the mindset of like, you know, a lot of people say like there's nothing quite as humbling as hitting rock bottom because the only thing you can do is go up.
Yeah.
But what they don't talk about is like hitting rock bottom and how hard it is to go up.
Yeah, rock bottom to some people can be, you know, I'm not saying like or underplaying that. A lot of people will see loss in family members and stuff like that, and they'll think that that's rock bottom. But to some extent, you can gain courage from that to march forward, to march on.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize is that I try and always talk about it as like one person's trauma is never worse or like better than somebody else's trauma because in somebody else's life that's might be the worst shit that they've seen.
Yeah,
you know
perspective.
What I mean? Yeah, just from their perspective, like if the worst thing that's happened to them is them stubbing their toe, that's still the worst thing that's happened to them. You know what I mean?
It's all based on some perspective, but at the end of the day, there are terrible things that could happen to people, and they just kind of brush it off.
Yeah.
You know, the current things that people like to joke about is suicide a lot, but it's like, it's when a lot of people are like, oh, you know, I was kind of there, but it's like, it's more or less like,
were you though?
Were you?
You know, and that's kind of one thing that me and Justin kind of both agree on and really have like had a lot of deep talks about is that because Justin's also one of those people who's not super down with like the suicide jokes, which is a very like hip trendy thing to do nowadays.
Bro, I'm just gonna kill myself.
But me and Justin
You're like, all right, bro,
are both kind of like we really like lean away from them and try to avoid them because of things you know that we've experienced.
Yeah, when people say that they're at rock bottom, but you will know when you're at rock bottom. Like there is a feeling of just like, wow, this is where I'm at right now.
There's nothing.
There's nothing. I have nobody. I have nothing. I pulled away from everybody, and I'm sitting here alone.
And I think at what point did, like, obviously, like you said, you obviously held on to the fact of like, all right, if I was gone, where would everybody else be type shit. But for you personally, what was the driving factor of like,
what was the point? What was the pivot?
Yeah, what was your like, all right, bro, I'm going to stop just not like moping, but almost like at some point it's almost like
I got to push forward.
Yeah, like, you know, like, because obviously you have this, you know, like, so it's almost like the way I try to look at it is like you almost have this monster in your head, right? And you're basically fighting this monster on a daily.
Yeah.
The moment you wake up, that monster's in your fucking face, like, let's fucking go. You know what I mean? And at some point you have to really overcome that on a day-to-day basis. People think that like obviously like, oh, you just wake up one day and decide, oh, I'm just gonna nah, bro, like it's a day-to-day, like you take it one day at a time type shit.
Yeah.
And I think like what if you were to give somebody advice on like time-wise and like, you know, people staying consistent with whether it be like trying to find a habit or like trying to find something that gives them some type of up, you know what I mean? Like what was that for you?
Well, I would say for the better heart, it's not something that you should just push away and forget about and move on immediately. You need time to process it and sit there and think about it. If you're going, and let's say you've done all that, your mind will start to wander and think about what you need to do. And the whole process is the best advice that I can give to some extent is you're just going to have to get back out there and try and
keep moving.
Just keep moving forward. Like, the march never ends. You must keep marching on. I'm not technically over the hurdle that I need to be, but that's just because of life circumstances and stuff like that. But
and I don't know if you do this, but I always like to ask people who have gone from like, like for me, like I guess my lowest point, I've looked at from where my lowest point was and where I'm at now. You know, do you ever kind of look back and be like, damn, like I'm glad that I'm glad that I'm here. I'm glad that I pushed through. And like, do you make sure that you look at your progress and take your little W's? Because I feel like that's a huge thing for people that they don't realize, especially coming from such a deep, dark area. Like you have to take your small W's. You have to take like, all right, bro, like I'm proud of myself for doing this small thing today. You know what I mean? And like, even it goes to an extent of some people, like I've seen people share on interviews and like TED Talks and stuff like that, where like, small W's for some people getting out of a depression is waking up every day, fucking making your bread, brushing your teeth. All right, bro, you did that. Now everything else is extra, but at least you're building something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Jackson said something about this either last podcast or some podcast ago, but it's about, for me, it was just working on like my real problems, which is like socializing. I really am uncomfortable talking to people a lot of the time.
Yeah, Justin is one of those people who when we were talking about like communication skills, I was thinking about. And that's no diss. Yeah. We've known each other forever, but we've known like our social standards on each other.
I think the funniest thing is that I cannot fucking write, or I cannot. So since I can't write or spell, texting is almost just kind of out the window. So
you just voice memo.
There's literally
voice memo.
like I can text, but at the same time, like, you know, I can kind of lead a conversation forward, but once you start kind of like it's some stupid conversation that we really shouldn't be having over text, like, I will completely drop it on.
I've had it to where my significant other reads Justin's text to me, and they're like, I don't know what he's saying. And I'm like, just read exactly what he typed, and I will know. It's fine.
You're like, I understand
I will figure it out.
You're like, I get it. Don't worry about it. You don't need to.
Like, yeah, it'll be fine. Just read it.
Although Jackson, my friend that I've known since elementary school, would you like to go down to the place called Denny's? I mean, I do that stuff intentionally.
Some of my exes will like.
I did that. Sometimes I do it intentionally, but there's other times where I was like, I'm really fucking trying right now to get something across, and my brain is just like how the fuck do you spell this?
The conversations we've had have kind of like led to your finding that new purpose or finding that new goal, that thing that drives you. How have you gotten there? What is the process for finding your new goal, or what is your new goal even starting there?
For a lot of people, this will be extreme. You really shouldn't do this. And the only reason I did it was because it's like, well, fight or flight. I'm going to either get fucked or not. Simple as. So simple as. I hate talking to people. So why don't I go to a job where people are going to be constantly bugging the shit out of me? So I went and like worked at Harkins.
Yeah. Like in the most real, and this is when I started talking to him again, was when he started working at Harkins.
Because I saw you there one day. Hey, look at that.
Yeah. And I regularly go to movies.
And I'm sure Jackson probably looked at you and was like, what are you doing here?
What the fuck's this stupid goof doing?
But that's something that I literally on the communication episode said is like, if you struggle with social anxiety and you really want to jump off the deep end, get yourself a job where you have to talk to people.
Yeah, in the service industry. And I think, honestly, for me, I never had a problem with like my social skills. I was always like a very like outgoing, like loud motherfucker. Like
me and Justin had speech classes together in elementary school. That's the type of environment we had.
Yeah, no, not for me, bro. I was hollering during school, bro. And I feel like everybody knew I was that loud motherfucker. And then I think I started working for Dutch, and then
it's fine. We're gonna talk about it on our episode anyway.
Yeah, I started working for Dutch, and then I went into Dutch for like 6 months on this Dutch high is what we call it. If you've never worked for Dutch, when you start working for Dutch, we call it a Dutch high because you think Dutch is like the best fucking company in the world.
It's like getting into a new relationship.
Yeah, and then after your 6 months, you're like, oh, this is what this person is like. Get me the fuck out. And then, but honestly, it changed. Like, I learned how to like control my social skills because I put myself in that area where it was like, they basically told me like, all right, bro, you got to chill the fuck out.
You got to calm down, buddy. You got to come off that high horse.
Anyway, you know what I mean? So you start at Harkins, you force yourself into that deep end of like, I'm going to do something, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, what a thug for that.
Yeah, that was my process. That one, I'm lonely as shit. I'm not talking to anybody. Got to fix that. I mean, like, Jackson knows, like, it's not, more or less, like, it's not hard for me to talk. If I know somebody, conversation flows correctly.
Yeah.
If I don't know somebody, it's like, hey, you got to go, buddy. Like, I can't say what I want to say. Get the fuck out. I want you gone.
And that's understandable. I feel like we're all kind of like that. We kind of have our circle and our people. And
Yeah, like, I mean, that's more or less, it's like, I would have no idea how to describe it because it's still kind of there.
Justin wouldn't talk to anybody if it was a choice.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'd rather just...
If you didn't know them already.
I'd rather just sit there in my own kind of sphere and just kind of... If someone approaches me and talks to me, I'm not going to be like, oh, this fucking person's talking to me. It's like...
But he's going to try to end that conversation as soon as possible.
Yeah, whatever they want, I'll get to that point and then leave it at that. But I got a lot better.
Strictly business.
Strictly business, frankly.
No, I'm a businessman.
Like, strictly, like, just working on, like, a bunch of problems like that. Another problem that will never fix itself because my dad still does it. Eye contact. I can't do that.
Threaten me.
I'll look, like, I can do this for a little bit, but otherwise you'll just start, if you ever start a long conversation, I'll just start staring at other shit. Like, that's just how it's going to go. It's not that I'm not uninterested. It's literally, that's just how it talks. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's how, like, some people honestly take that shit, like,
oh, I know.
a little bit too anal. Yeah.
I remember somebody who was really anal about it. It's like, you're going to get to know me. You're going to realize that we're going to have some serious shit happening. You're like, man, I really don't want to stare at this guy now. It's like, yeah.
But Justin's really good about the rest of his body language showing that he's engaged.
Yeah. A lot of people don't even know how to read body language, and it's crazy.
No, but anyway, so you throw yourself into the deep end, you get a job, and you kind of force yourself to start getting reacquainted.
Yeah, it's pretty good to be the silent person who likes to collect information. You can learn a lot if you're just sitting there. I wasn't even engaging with people. I was just more or less paying attention. That's how I know.
I think it's funny that you say that. I don't know if you've ever seen the clip of this business. I don't know what his name is, but there's just like either on a podcast, and it's a bunch of like entrepreneurs sitting around each other. And he goes, I think the wisest thing I've ever learned is being the quietest person in the room. He's like, because you find out if you're the smartest person or not the smartest person, either way, by just listening to whoever else is in the room talk.
Yep.
And then by the end of their conversation, 9 times out of 10, you're become the smartest person in the room because you've now heard everybody unload their shit and basically tell themselves off to everybody.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So if you're withholding everything, now you're the question. Now you're the mystery. Now, all right, what's up with this dude? You know what I mean? And then you can kind of create whatever based off of just, viewing your environment, paying attention, and really understanding what you're in.
Well, you know how some people don't intently roll their eyes or stuff like that when they get. I used to do that. Now I just kind of. No one knows that I'm like that at all. Or if I'm pissed, I just kind of go whatever. Like it. You learn you'll just start learning stuff if you just kind of sit there and not really engage. You just kind of sit and you observe. That's how I know body language a lot more. It's just because why not? And then I just kind of started talking to people, and then it kind of sprawled down from there. And then COVID happened, and then I was working for a painter guy, ignoring every possible guideline because it didn't matter to me. But then we got to like Papa John's, and that's where I really started to try and kind of push the envelope a little bit. It's more or less like you just have to you'll figure out what you need to do per se. You just have to kind of get out there and force yourself and not really overthink what the repercussions of it for, what's this going to happen or this going to happen. It's just...
I think it's always worrying about, rather than worrying about the future, it's always worrying about just your next step.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was going to say is, from my understanding in our talks, and even in my own experiences, it's kind of like, don't worry about what the next dream is because you'll find it. It'll come. It's like trying to force it and trying to make one is a recipe for disaster, and you will end up being disappointed again.
Yeah.
But, we've talked a bit. This bike will fix me.
The owl will fix me.
But the idea of like, you're kind of starting, you voiced to me that you're starting to kind of get a drive again for a passion. And I don't know if you want to say what it is or not. We kind of talked about school and some other stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about probably going to a trade school and trying to figure out a bunch of stuff with maybe like gunsmithing, but I'm not entirely sure if that's what I want to do.
That'd be fucking sick.
Well, one, it's a dying trade, so it's a pain in the ass to get into.
I was also going to ask you, like, I know, like, even what you said, or obviously earlier on, like, your goal was to work up to paratrooping. Have you ever thought about being like a skydiving instructor? Yeah.
It's not.
I know obviously it's not the same, but at least like, kind of getting like.
Yeah, but that wasn't the thrill of it. Like for me, like I used to be terrified of heights, and then I just worked on roofing, and I still am to some extent. Like It's not the up motion, it's down. You'll notice it if you actually pay attention. Like when I step down from something, my legs will shake. Yeah. No idea why. It'll just happen. It's just downward motion. Not okay. Going up, I'm fine.
I, for the first time in my life, got a full experience of fear of heights today.
I swear.
Super off topic. I went rock climbing.
Oh, yeah.
And when you go rock climbing, you put a harness on, and then there's a clip, and some of them, it's either a...
You're talking about like a gym rock climbing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's either a counterbalance system where you're attached to somebody else on the floor, and that's what's keeping you from plummeting, or there's a rigging system that has a chain or a pulley system that if it detects all your weight, it'll slowly descend you.
Think about it like a seatbelt kind of, where you go too fast.
I did it at a fair one time where they let go of the rope and shit like that.
It's a harness basically, and it's connected to your pelvic area, this pulley, and that's all that is keeping you from
falling.
Dropping however far. It's about 3 of me, so however tie that at, and that's
maybe like 4'2".
That's how I justified to myself that I could drop. Is I was like, it's like 3 of me. I've jumped from higher without safety. But of course, that was in a forward momentum. I was facing the ground and stuff. And
when you're looking down,
but
there you go.
Yeah, I literally looked down, and I looked at the person that I was with. I was like, I can't do this. I was like, I'm kind of freaked out right now. And she has a fear of heights. I don't. But this was the first time that I felt like I was going to have an anxiety attack. I was like, oh my God, how do you fuckers live like this? And I've done lighting rigging and been in stupid high places, held heavy equipment, dangling. And the only thing that's keeping me from falling is my body. And that is it.
I think
and this freaked me out. And maybe it's I haven't exposed myself to that in a while again, but I just couldn't jump and let go of the wall. It was I would literally was shaking, holding the wall, and my muscles were giving out, and I was like, "What the fuck am I gonna do?
What am I gonna do?" I think the biggest thing height wise for fear of heights for me is always when I look over and I see the drop. That's the only time my stomach drops, and I'm like, "Oh no!"
His stomach falls before he does.
No, literally, but on roller coasters, I'm always I'll look at the top and I'll be like, "I want to be there."
No,
I want to be there.
Don't fuck me up.
I love roller coasters, bro. I want to be on the biggest.
You want to come to Six Flags with us?
Yes, bro. I love roller coasters.
Justin, tangent aside.
I mean, with all of it to me, I didn't care. I just I still had that process that I do now, which is that if I just force myself to do it, I'll get over it. Yeah, height stuff. Yeah, I still if I stand over the edge, I'm like, man, that's something. But I'll.
But I will say this: that's a good thing, though. You have that fear again.
Yeah, it's. I don't really. I have a fear of heights, but if I was the best way to describe is how I go through a lot of things is that if you force me into the position that I have to do something, I will do it. It doesn't matter. Well, I mean, you were there for the one time where I think I've actually spoken up and did something, which is with David.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that, but
I can edit it out. It's fine.
I mean, it doesn't matter. But,
but I mean, and you're right. Super true. But I also mean in the sense that having that fear established of fear of falling is a good thing for you because it reasserts where you are mentally of I want to be here.
Yeah, and a lot of people have tons of different fears of different things. People have fear of planes, and it's okay.
Me. But not planes, but hydrophobia.
Hydrophobia?
Yeah, he repels water.
Fuck you. Casey Gaming.
Just figure out how to be Jesus, and you won't have to worry about it. You can just stand on it.
I will ascend.
Or just be like Moses. You can just part the sea.
It's true.
Jesus is cooler. I want to walk on water. The fuck?
I'd rather walk on water, honestly.
I don't want to see what's under that shit. I'm already scared of it.
I'd want to part the sea and then walk out to the bottom of the sea.
We're not talking about your sex life. Wow. Anyway.
Any whore.
We're kind of on that level of healing process and finding that new dream. I kind of want to take us out, and because we're running pretty long.
I know we're running long.
So I do want to say, if you had one piece of advice for somebody who has ever been in the position you are in, or is currently in that position, what is the thing you would tell them?
I can give even more to that. even people who are aspiring to do something and they have like a fear of failure. Like, it's not the fear that's going to get you. It's just your own ambition. It's what you want to do. Like, the best way that I give any advice to anybody who's going to college or doing anything for that matter, just with their career that requires a lot of time and effort, just make sure that you can do something else with it if it's not what you want to do. Like, if you have, like, a lot of degrees can play off each other in certain ways, and that's how the way you should go about it, and including skills and other stuff. Like, I have a bunch of different stuff that I can do. Like, I can paint, I can work on cars, I can roof. Yeah, I can do roofing. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can learn and do from those experiences as long as you're taking the time to make sure that that's something that you keep in mind. Not saying the number one thing, is that you should throw away something just because it doesn't play off anything, but just make sure that you have something else that you think you'd be rather do than just that. Going all in on something is not something that you should inherently do. This is what happens when you do that. And for anybody who's like in that mindset of just complete and utter like collapse, like there's nothing's going great, everything's going bad, you lost it all. You really just got to think about the people around you and what you're going to do. Like, your friends are going to remember you a different way rather than how you want them to. They're going to remember the moment of what just happened, not who you were and who you are. And the things that they're going to say aren't going to be the things you want them to.
Yeah, I speaking on that as somebody who's lost people in this way, it's the first thing that I think about when I think about them. It's not necessarily the happy memories or anything. It's the thought of like, damn, I could have done more, or damn, like, I should have seen the signs, or like, damn, like, this is what happens.
And I guess to some extent, like, if you're somebody who's trying to look for something like that, like, it's not always there. It's, even if those people are still talking and communicating and stuff like that and getting out there, it always doesn't mean that things are okay. Everything's.
Yeah, I mean, we see it with, like, whether it be even like celebrity figures, like obviously like with Robin Williams, you know what I mean? Like, my man looked like he was still doing movies. He still looked like the happiest, person. And a lot of the people who they interviewed around him, and they were like we would have never noticed. Like, my man was still living the life like he wanted to, yada yada. And then all of a sudden he takes his own life, and everyone's like shocked. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like, I wish I could have done more. I wish I could have done this. And it's like some of the happiest people are in their darkest areas in their life, but they're just not going to share that. You know what I mean?
And I think the problem is that some people only listen to the context, but not really like what's being said.
That kind of goes in with what I've said before, is a lot of people listen to just respond to something rather than listening to what is actually being spoken from that other person's mouth.
Well, yeah,
they're looking to respond to it.
A good example, I guess, is like music. Because you think if people just listen to the beat of the fucking song, they don't listen to any of the lyrics. Yeah. Like, if you listen to like fucking like Careless Whispers or Last Christmas from like Wham, like, you listen, it's literally just a guy crying. Yeah. Literally just crying in the club. Even Last Christmas is about a guy getting played. Like, that's literally what it's about. Like, this bitch played him. Fuck him. Like that. And everyone's, oh my God, this is I'm like,
what a banger.
Fuck, bro. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Shit.
The pizza, the fucking Pop-Tarts in the toaster right now. Please, dude.
Come on, man. Like, I was happy. Like, and I love that song. It's a banger. Like, but I could give like an example, but I'd be putting Jaxon on the spot if I gave an example.
No, it's okay. You can blast it. I can edit it out.
Okay, if that's what you want to do, whatever.
Yeah, hit it.
Well, a great example, like, it's all about just tone. Like, you can deliver something that's extremely fucking terrible if you give it a lighthearted example, and a lot of people, that's what they do, and they expect somebody to catch them, and sometimes it's just not how it works. So I guess the example would be like, well, Jaxon, you never call me, you never text me, you never see how a man's doing. Okay. Come on, buddy. Okay. Like, come on, man. You ask a man if he's going to hang out.
Yeah, okay. We've already talked about this on the podcast. I'm awful at reaching out.
I know, but like,
I'm the same way.
But then if you change the tone of that, it's like, well, Jaxon, you never call me, you never text me, you never see how I'm doing, you never ask him I'm hanging out or if I'm free. Like, that's the way you can do it. And a lot of people, it's always the funny shit, because why would you want to bring somebody down? Like, you can laugh about it, And that's just kind of how people play it off. Like, the funniest people are the people who are hurting the most.
Yeah. And
retweet times 100.
And
retweet.
And Justin knows that, like, I will also always, like, the moment that I am talking to him, I will make sure he's good and I will be there. But, like,
it happens, buddy.
If you also, like, came at me legitimately, like, hey, like,
I'm crying in the club right now, bro. I'm gonna throw myself out this building.
Yeah, like, then I would be like, oh shit. Anyway,
no, sometimes I'll say stupid shit like that, and I don't really mean it in that way. I'm just like, it's funny, well. But this is what people just have to look for. Like, you really start paying attention to what people say and the tone that they say it. And it doesn't matter if it's funny or not. Just take what they are saying and listen. Because sometimes that's the cry for help.
Yeah.
And that's what people miss. And it's always there.
I think I'm actually going to start crying if we keep going.
Don't cry, buddy.
All right, then I'll leave it with this, bro. Or I'll try and say my piece. But if you're somebody going through something, respectfully, find somebody to talk to about it. I don't care if it's like, I've had a homie tell me that they called the suicide prevention hotline, and because obviously, like, they didn't want to tell anybody else that they were going through what they were going through, and that one conversation was like, genuinely, it was enough. You know what I mean? Like, you have to try and talk to somebody. And I think that's something, like, especially as men, we don't do. Because we're told from rip, don't be a little bitch. Don't, like, your feelings don't matter. You have to be stronger for everybody else. You have to be a man, blah, blah, blah. And I think me and you have preferenced it enough. I'm sure you've heard it listening to the podcast. Like, as men, like, we have to fucking talk more. And it's like, check on your brothers, bro. Check on your fucking homies. Like, even if it's like you just talked to the homie yesterday, you never know what type of shit somebody wakes up with in their head. You know what I mean? Like, we talked about it. Like, some people are dealing with the monster on a day-to-day basis. They just don't know how to express it. You know what I mean? So check on your fucking peoples, bro.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to put a disclaimer at the start of this episode. But if you got this far, there will be resources down below for all types of mental illness and remedies and stuff like that. And for people that are leaving the armed forces and stuff, I will make sure to leave links all down below. So get that help if you need it. But it's been a pretty dour episode.
Let's come up.
Yeah, so let's come up for air. Justin, do you want to say it?
Yeah, I could start. I mean, what I've been doing lately, something that, you know, it's always helpful. Like, I just help out people a lot. So I've been helping out a friend fuck with a stupid fucking shitbox of a car.
Yeah. This is the part where you tell me what car it is.
I think it's a early 2000s Acura Tegra.
Oh, I think I remember you talking about it. You had to pull the engine and shit.
Because you blew it up. You installed something wrong, and you should have just looked it up. So, yeah, that's the whole story. It was, it was kind of running. It was working. I helped him with it, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. But now we're on a different motor, different shit. And now we're like, well, one, I'm already not thrilled for. The stupid pickup had a screw basically held in by like gasket maker. Oh, nice. Yeah, so I was like, we're really about to use this shit. We pull it out, and then we re-tap everything, and then I realized, like, we should have been having, like, a vacuum while we're sitting there drilling it, and then we didn't. So I was like, well, now we got to flush the engine whenever we get around to it. Yeah, we got to flush the engine whenever we get around to doing that. And then a couple days, go by, a week, and then I bring it up to him again, and he forgot about it. I was like, that's why I'm here. Because you forget.
You literally would have blown up your engine.
If you forget, if you blew it up again, I would be like, I told you so, you fucking. But
I'm not helping you with this.
I've been helping him every goddamn time, even if it hurts my back every goddamn time. I don't care. I picked up an engine block, and then I threw up my back, went to work, and then I went, it didn't hurt for the first couple of days, and then it did, and I was like, son of a fucking bitch.
Crazy.
I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, no. Picking up engines is not the wave.
It's not that heavy. Honestly, I can pick it up and move it, and I'd be fine. It was just the fact we picked it up and shimmied it all the way to the backyard. And that's when I was like, fucking piece of shit. Like, I could pick up that stupid engine block on my own. It doesn't weigh that much. It's only like, when you have everything stripped out of it.
What is it, like a is it a 4-banger?
It's just a 4-banger.
Oh, okay.
I think engine that was originally in it, I think it was a B20. I think it was a B20. And then he tried to do like a VTEC setup, and he fucked it up. And timing went off, pickup smashed, and then kapoo, there goes the car.
Kapoo.
And then he's got a like a 90 Celica that's imported, so it's right-hand drive.
That's so hot. I didn't realize that Celicas were basically Supras without the fucking.
Oh, it's got a turbo. It's got a turbo and it's 4-wheel drive.
Oh, that's so hot.
Brendan?
I went to Gold Rush this past weekend.
What's Gold Rush?
Gold Rush is an EDM festival for big ravers, and for people who like the wob 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 wob.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, in that bitch, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, bro, we were in that bitch, and it was honestly really cool to see. It was cool to see a lot of my homies.
Justin, you like EDM?
No.
Mm.
You know exactly what I fucking listen to.
I know you do,
weirdest
but
shit.
I thought I'd ask.
It was definitely cool to see all my homies.
Actually,
again.
I changed my mind. It just depends on what it is.
Okay.
And I honestly forgot how tiring a 3-day festival was. Not by day 3, you're like dead and just want to sit on the grass and listen to all the music rather than like being in the pit. But like
Jumping around.
Bro, we were on rail for Rez. I saw Excision again. Troy Boy was cool. It was just a good time overall. I definitely got reminded as to why I am where I am in my life and and the motivation that I got. Yeah, but shout out to reminders, honestly. Shout out to shitty ass people. Appreciate y'all. You guys are good lessons. That's all I can really say on that. I'm gonna just leave that one alone before I start getting petty.
Good idea. Oh, man. Jesus. I'm going to talk about some spooky movies. It is the year of the month of our Lord and Savior, Spookies, October.
Spookies.
Halloween. So real quick, I want to talk about 2 movies that dropped recently, Barbarian and Smile. Smile just dropped last week, and Barbarian's been out for about a month now, I think, or a couple weeks. Barbarian is a movie that is about a woman who gets a house Airbnb'd, and then is double booked with a guy. And I'll leave it at that because going in blind to this movie is kind of a good idea, but know that it's not at all what you think it's going to be. It's a wild ride. I'm going to try and keep some of it a little spoiler-free. I don't know if you guys are going to want to watch these movies. No. Either of you?
I'm not a big horror person, and if he said that this is probably the 2 scariest best horror films to drop. I'm
going to quickly do this, then do probably a small spoiler segment, and then say skip this portion. But real quick, we'll talk about it. Barbarian is super well shot. Originally, the first half of the film, you'll know the point when you watch it, was supposed to be just a short film. And then the director got such good screenings on it and then ended up having an idea to make the second half of the film. And so he just made the full thing. And then it was supposed to come out at a dead quarter. So basically there's movie release segments where the movie is set to release in an area that it'll perform super poorly in, but we still have to fill that section of time. It got pushed back into a better section because it screened so well. So they pushed it into a more populated area. So, which is why it's releasing now, where horror films really do well. And I think that it's probably one of the top 3 horror movies that have released this year. It's super good. It has a lot of really interesting concepts. And it's super dynamically shot. It uses a lot of really cool lighting techniques for it. And it kind of subverts some horror tropes, which is really cool. Second film is Smile. This one just came out. Super fucking scary, in my opinion. I think that it really does a great job with its camera work and its facial work. It's advertising. It had one of the best advertising campaigns that I've seen for a movie. They sent people onto sports events and onto news networks, and then randomly standing in the streets for news shots.
Oh yeah, I saw some
and
of
them
that.
Just doing the smile at the camera, and people would see it and be like, "What the fuck?" And it was the most subtle fucking advertisements.
Yeah, and then they had it on Twitter where if you did the hashtag smile and then you hit the like button, it would turn into a big smile.
Yeah, they did really phenomenal fucking work, and I think it's one of the directors are really new to the scene too, if I'm not mistaken. At least I know Barbarians was. But like the craft in it is phenomenal. You can tell it's passionate. Like the camera work is literally some of the best that I've seen in a long time. And they do a lot of really good framing. So they'll go, for example, this isn't a super big spoiler, so this is really good for our film buffs out there. There's a scene where the main character is in a therapist office, and they'll do close shots to where it quarters off the therapist to make it feel very like tight. And then it'll do a wide shot, and you can see a door frame that's open in the background that's dark. And it's a wide shot that's super uncomfortable, and it's dependent on what they're talking about that the shot changes. So if they're talking about, if the therapist is talking, hey, this is probably a mental illness thing, and then the character is saying something that drives it back to it being like a curse, the wide shot kicks in, and you can see the background, and you're waiting for something to show up.
So it builds up like the anticipation.
Yeah, it does the Shining thing, which is like it does audio cues that aren't directly correspondent to a scare happening, but just tension.
Just lots of wide shots with nothing in them.
Yeah, with nothing happening, including the music happening, but nothing changes. It also does some of the best lighting work I've ever fucking seen, too. It'll do, like, we're going to get a little spoilerly. In the start of the film, the title card doesn't roll till 5 minutes after the film starts. 5 people walked out of the film after the 5 minutes starts. They fucking left. But about 20 minutes into the film, the main character is drinking wine in their kitchen, and part of the kitchen is dark, and it shows them look off to the side, and you can see shadowed, and you only see the forehead and the outline of the smile. And that is it. You can barely make out this person. Like, it's fucking terrifying. And there's something so subtle about the work of, like, making something that should be natural completely uncanny and really bad. It honestly is one of the most terrifying films I've watched. But that's also because I'm a big bitch.
I almost shit myself, man.
But
I
like
went to the theater
literally
and I said, "Fuck."
best horror film that I think is released this year.
Where would you rank it in the past decade?
In the past decade,
I mean, we all know what the greatest horror film for you is because you can't even watch it.
Jaws.
Yep.
I would honestly give this, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give this probably, like, overall an 8 or a 7, which is really good for me. I rank films pretty harshly. So probably, like, normal person-wise, I'd probably say it's probably an 8 or a 9. I'd say scary-wise, scary scale, if you listen to a podcast I listen
Spooky
to,
scale?
then I would go, like, honestly, an 8 or a 9. And that's only because 10 is reserved for, like, things that will keep me up at night, like Hereditary and some other shit. Like Jaws.
Jaws 1 is a pretty good movie, too.
As he's sleeping, all he hears in his room, dun
Fuck you. But literally, like, super good. And the ending is, like, the most disappointing part of the film, but also one of the best parts of the film. And I really hope they don't make a sequel. I think this should be a one and done, and it'll be good.
I wish a lot of movies would just do that, a one and done, and it'd be fantastic.
But who knows? Anyway, that's going to kind of wrap us up. We've went really long here.
I was going to say, this is probably going to be the longest episode.
Yeah, I don't know what the edited time will look like, but damn, it'll probably be an hour 30.
I was like, bottom is going to be at least hour 30.
But I think that we're going to wrap it up here. Let's kick it off real quick. Justin, do you have anything you want to shout out, or are you kind of cool?
I mean, if you want to follow me on Instagram for some reason, if you want to talk to somebody, like, I'll try it. If it gets to, like, some crazy shit, it's probably just going to have to talk to me, but I have an Instagram. It's just Justin_Colton with a K, Koltin.
I can link it down below.
Yeah. I mean, that's not really what it's used for, but if you need someone to talk to that just has you got something going on and you just need someone to talk to, just go for it.
What a fucking guy.
Yep.
Thank you for coming on, genuinely.
Brendan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter, all at KillerB420 with 2 R's.
You can find me on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, and Twitch at RQ.
Because fuck Instagram.
Yeah, because fuck Instagram. I know what Justin just said, but fuck that bitch. Brendan, where can they find us?
You can find us on Instagram and TikTok for Coming Up for Air, and Twitter up for Aircast. always forget the fucking Twitter handle.
And if you like the podcast, please make sure to subscribe, share, rate it. It means the world and it really helps our podcast out. If you feel like somebody needed to hear this episode or a prior episode, don't be afraid to share it with a friend. It really helps our outreach. Last but not least, I really do want to thank you, Justin, for coming on.
Facts.
And talking about everything you talked about and just also being a kick-ass guest.
No problem.
And
thanks for being a G and being very open, obviously. Because like I said, like there's not a lot that you see like that. You know what I mean? So for you to be able to do what you did, like, thanks, dog, for real.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man.
You're welcome.
Love you, bud.
Gang shit. Remember to be a good fucking human being.
Yeah. See you next Wednesday, Justin.
We're waking up tomorrow.
Whoop whoop.
Gang.